Welcome. Today, we're diving into a fascinating truth. Paying attention doesn't mean we see everything. It's easy to assume that if our eyes are open and our mind is focused, nothing important will slip by. But in reality, people often miss obvious signs, forget details, or fail to notice changes, even when they're concentrating. This isn't about being careless or having a weak mind. Instead, it's because attention is far more selective than we realize. Our brains are constantly choosing what to notice and what to ignore, even when we feel alert. As we explore this topic, you'll see why missed details are common and how focus doesn't always equal full awareness. Let's uncover how attention really works and why it's not as complete as it feels. Many people imagine attention as a spotlight, shining on everything we look at. But in truth, attention acts more like a filter. Every second, our brain is flooded with sensory input, far more than it could ever process in detail. To prevent overload, the brain automatically lets only certain information through, based on what's relevant to our goals and context. This filtering happens mostly outside our awareness, so what gets filtered out often feels invisible. That's why we can miss things right in front of us, even when we're trying to pay attention. The brain's filter is always at work, helping us focus on what matters and ignore the rest. This process is not a flaw, but a necessary way to manage the overwhelming amount of information we encounter. Deep focus is powerful for solving complex problems or learning new things, but it comes with a trade-off. As we concentrate more deeply, our awareness of unrelated details drops. For example, when you're absorbed in reading or working, you might not notice sounds, movements, or even changes happening nearby. This narrowing of attention isn't a flaw, it's a necessary trade-off between depth and breadth. The brain can't maximize both at once, so when we focus deeply, we naturally miss out on peripheral details. This helps us be more efficient, but it also means we're likely to overlook things that aren't directly related to our current goal. Understanding this trade-off can help us be more forgiving of ourselves when we miss something obvious. Brains don't just react to the world, they predict it. Based on past experiences, the brain expects certain patterns and outcomes, which speeds up processing but can also hide unexpected details. When something doesn't fit our expectations, it's easy to overlook. This is especially true in familiar environments, where the brain assumes stability and stops checking closely. Memory and attention are closely linked. To truly notice something, the brain must briefly encode it into memory. If our attention is divided or shallow, this encoding is weak, and details are quickly lost. Multitasking makes this even worse, as switching focus disrupts memory formation. The brain's limited capacity means it can only encode so much at once, so attention supports memory, but only for what it deems important. Brain's main goal isn't perfect accuracy, it's usefulness. Instead of storing every detail, the brain looks for meaning, patterns, and significance. Details that don't contribute to understanding are often dropped. That's why we tend to remember the main idea of an event but forget the small specifics. From a survival perspective, this makes sense. Recognizing what matters is more important than remembering everything. Stress and fatigue can make this even more pronounced, as mental resources are redirected inward and the brain becomes even more selective. When we're tired or stressed, we rely more on assumptions and habits, and blind spots expand. Missing details in these moments is not a sign of failure, but a reflection of how our brain manages limited resources. Understanding how attention works helps us use it more effectively. Instead of fighting our brain's natural tendencies, we can design our habits to work with them. Reducing multitasking, slowing down, and questioning our assumptions can help expand our awareness. The goal isn't to notice everything, that's impossible, but to notice thoughtfully and with intention. Being aware of what attention excludes is just as important as knowing what it includes. When we accept that missed details are a normal part of how our brain operates, we can stop seeing them as failures and start appreciating the mind's efficiency and adaptability. By working with attention, we can improve our focus and make the most of our mental resources. Wrap up, the brain misses obvious details not because it's careless, but because it's efficient. Attention filters, predicts, and prioritizes to manage limited resources. Paying attention doesn't mean seeing everything. It means seeing what the brain decides matters most in that moment. Once we understand this, missed details stop feeling like personal failures and start revealing how selective and adaptive the mind truly is. By learning to work with our attention, we can become more aware, more focused, and more forgiving of the natural limits of our perception. Thanks for joining this exploration into the science of attention. See you in the next video.